What is up? What is up, guys? This is Merc with the mic, and this is another The Game of Rage podcast by Red Cyclone Inc. I'm Merc with the mic, joined by Tenacious T.
The one and the only.
And this is our all things retro gaming cast. Everything retro gaming or even current game. It doesn't really matter. Just gaming and all enjoy.
It really doesn't have to be based in retro form. You know what I mean?
But a lot of things we're gonna talk about is retro.
Well, because that was our upbringing with video games. You know what I mean? Like, our current love for it. You know what I mean? Nostalgic for back in the day. You know what I mean? Like, I wish half the kids these days knew about, went up sort of the same way that we did, so they can have an appreciation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Say a Mario game pops out tomorrow. You know what I mean? Why not dive down the rabbit hole of where Mario originally came from, which is Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong is the original Mario.
Yeah.
It is. Mario is
he was
guy.
in Mario. He was in Mario when he first got his game. He was Jumpman in Donkey Kong, if you want to be
Yes,
technical.
but that was Mario. That was Mario. There's no way around it. That was Mario.
He was Jumpman.
Whatever's clever. But yes, this is episode 2.
Episode 2 of the Game of Rage podcast. And we're going to start off with the challenge segment of it. So we challenged each other.
Epic.
Yeah, so we challenged each other on a video game. We're going to do it each episode. We will have a challenge later on for a new game for this month. But our first game that we challenged each other, I got Sonic Spinball. He got Mario 2, which he got lucky with a good game.
I didn't get lucky. I mean, I did because of what I really gained out of it. You got Sonic Spinball because of me talking to you throughout time and you continuously hating on it. So you gave me a positive and I hit you with a negative straight from the jump. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily the formula of how this is going to work. But at the time, I wanted you to feel how I felt when I was a kid. And from what I hear from your review of it, it was the complete opposite.
It was shit.
Tell me about your experience.
All right, so
with
Sonic Spinball. Sonic fucking Spinball was probably the worst Sonic game that I have played.
The cough explains it all.
Exactly. Oh, man. Anyway, it was the worst Sonic game I ever played besides Sonic 06, which I'll say Sonic Spinball is slightly better, but it's still as bad.
I mean, I remember it as it being fun. You know what I mean? Like, I used to go into actual video game rental places and play pinball. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That was my thing. So, like, to have Sonic, which is probably one of the most recognizable, iconic video game characters ever, to have that in like a pinball kind of mode.
Yeah.
Which is it's really not even pinball though. You know, like casino mode in Sonic is more pinball.
It was pinball in a way that, again, like you didn't really have control of Sonic itself. You just had control of the flippers that jumped him, and then you had that one jump that you could do with Sonic and like going into the game, going into the stage and all. That was the max of you controlling Sonic. So it was a pinball game nonetheless, but it was a very unresponsive pinball game. And that's what really bothered me with this game. Like, you had to learn the timing and the mechanisms of this fucking game. And that's one thing that it was just irritating. And then it's just really dry. The music is terrible. The sound effects are terrible. And that's the bad thing that I don't see in Sonic games. Sonic games always have amazing music, except for this game. This game had terrible music. It used this.
I know you kept saying that throughout your whole portion of playing it.
Yeah.
Like, fuck this game. Yo, the music sucks.
Yeah.
But do you think if the music was different, if the score of the game was different, it would be a better game?
I might have enjoyed it slightly more, just the fact that I at least have something good to listen to while I'm playing this shit. That's how I feel about it. Like, one thing with Sonic games in general, like, it's just for a long ass time, even recent, Sonic is known for his music. The Hedgehog always had great music in their games. This game wasn't made by the Sonic team, so it had terrible music.
Well,
But
I mean, I haven't touched it in a very long time,
yeah,
so I can't recall. Like, you know, like you hop in and you play Sonic right now, and you play Sonic and Tails. You know
yeah,
what I mean? You can hear the score in the background.
yeah,
I know what Emerald Forest or Emerald Hills or whatever the hell it
yeah.
is. I
Emerald
know what it
Hills.
sounds like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like in my head, I don't recall what Sonic Spinball sounds like. So
So
I
yeah,
don't know
it's
what the fuck you're talking about right now.
so the thing about this game is you have to collect the Chaos Emerald, then you have to fight the boss. You cannot fight the boss without the Chaos Emerald, so you gotta collect that first before you got the boss. So then you gotta figure out how to get to the game. So the thing is with this game is that there's no like navigation anywhere to where you have to do. You kind of have to just like play it, like just fuck around and see where it goes. And if you're lucky enough, you'll go to the certain part. If you're not lucky enough, if you don't know certain things about this game, you will never find like the emeralds and shit, because there's one, especially in the first stage. The first stage, there's one that you gotta fall into like a little garbage, and you gotta like kind of swim to the right to get the first Chaos Emerald. Like you would not know you had to do that unless you actually looked at something to do that.
I remember the visuals being pretty cool. I remember like the oil board. Wasn't there like an oil board in it?
No, it was the Mystic Cave ish looking thing, which was like a toxic swamp. Then it went to like a fire, like a mine shed kind of thing with a lot of fire and shit. Then it went into the Death Egg, which is Robotnik's area and shit like that.
See, because like I said, I haven't touched it since like
Yeah.
the 90s. You know what I mean? That was probably the last time that I did it.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you enjoyed it so much.
Oh, I hated the game. If I had to review it, 1 out of 5, I'd give it a 1.
A 1.
Yeah.
You know, coming from you, that's actually a plus to me.
Yeah.
I did that, like I said earlier. I did that, and I feel bad because, like, I mean, this cast shouldn't have to be all good games. Like, you should have to be subjected to be playing a shitty game.
And I'm fine with that. And I know this was a shitty game, and I was fine with playing it. But
I don't see it as a shitty game because I had many hours of enjoyment. You know
play it
what I mean?
now.
So, I don't own it,
say.
and my Genesis is actually getting fixed as we speak.
So then pick it up.
Shouts out the Game On for that one. They're definitely hooking me up.
Okay.
But the game that you bestowed upon me, which was honestly thank you for it, because it was probably like a real adult defining moment. You know what I mean, to me, and I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. Like, you gave me Mario 2, and the reason why you gave me Mario 2 is because yes, I beat Mario 1 and I beat Mario 3. You know what I mean? Like, that's a given. Mario 3 to me is the greatest game ever.
Yeah.
It is my favorite game of all time. It never gets old to me. Mario 1, I enjoyed it because that was the beacon. That was the start of a generation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mario 2, I just for some reason just never got through it. And I literally, you know, I got through it this time. And I'm gonna be honest, there was a couple levels that fucking pissed me off. Very, very much, but it was more of not the level, it was more of my patience.
Yeah.
Of actually trying to get through it like the right way, instead of like trying to rush it. Because the way I see it happening is, you know, like the first couple times I do it, I'm actually strategically trying to get through it. And then once I start dying, then it's like, fuck it, I'm just trying to get through these parts to get to this next part. You know what I mean? So, but when I finally made it, which was today, might I add, they're video game wise in my life, I've beaten many games in my day, this was probably one of the top moments of my like video game life. You know what I mean? Like my continues
Yeah.
as I put it. It really meant a lot to me to make it through, because now it's like the one thing I couldn't do as a kid, I finally did it as an adult.
Cool.
And this is what this is all about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, how many times do you think you died during?
Sonic Spinball about 25 to 26 times.
I died exactly 40 times, man.
Exactly.
How the fuck did that happen?
So
how did I do exactly 40 times?
So I realized that I could just save and not die and just reload my save. I found that out a little too late. So that I kind of, because I was playing on the PS4. I was playing on the Genesis collection that came out last year that has Sonic Spinball, and I don't own the Genesis cartridge, so I played it on that, which is pretty much the same port of the game. Like it's the exact same port. I actually even looked it up to make sure it's the exact same port. The only thing is you could save, and that's the key line of that's the reason why I only died as many times. I probably died more because the fact is you don't get continues in this game. You have to go straight through. You get free lives if you get to a certain point, So other than that, there's no continues. So you die, game over. You gotta start again. So that save feature helped a lot. Yeah, so about 25 times.
I did. Like I said, I did 40 times, but in my game you have continues.
Yeah.
So no matter what happens when you die, you go back to the beginning of the level, and then you start off with 5 lives. You know what I mean? Then you accumulate lives as you go. I think the highest level that I got with lives was like 13. I got 13. And I also like to say with Mario 2, you have the option of playing with like Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Princess. I played as Princess the entire time.
Yeah, I saw 30 and 000.
I don't see the logic in playing with anybody else than the Princess, because the Princess has like a very strategic tool where you can float.
Yeah.
And you can glide above things. Why? And then maybe Luigi would be next because he's got that like high kick that can soar.
He's hard to control though.
It is hard to control. Like I can't. Maybe one day, since I just got my NES fixed, and I can actually play, because I was actually playing it off of Mario All-Stars, off of Super Nintendo. I'll go back and play it with maybe Mario and try and see. Because it's a whole different world with Mario, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I continued one time on the 4th level, one time on the 5th level. I did it. I think I lost more lives on the 6th level, but I only had 2 continues on there.
Okay.
And I had 4 continues on the 7th level. But that's all because I didn't know how to even figure out how to beat the last guy. And I did that by accident. You know what I mean? These things keep spewing out, and you're supposed to catch them. I didn't know you were supposed to catch them. Kept dropping on the ground, and then when I accidentally picked one up, like holy shit, I got it. I just ran it through it at him, like the Dino dinosaur thing.
Yeah.
And it didn't do nothing to him. I was like, oh, fuck, how the hell am I supposed to beat this guy? And then like after like 1 or 2 continues from that, I finally figured out you had to hit him in his mouth. But I thank you for that, because it is an achievement in my adult life that my childhood heart is like screaming yes.
Yeah.
Like you finally did it. You know
that's good. As long as you got to finish it and you enjoyed finishing it, that's what matters.
I will, at the end of this cast, give you a choice of your next 2. I have 2 in my mind right now that I think will be fun. It will be hard.
Yeah.
But it will be fun. You know what I mean? I put a lot of thought into these 2.
Okay. I have 3. I have 3 in mind, so we'll go into that towards the ending of this cast.
I wanted to challenge you, but
so what you rate Mario 1 to 5?
It's see the problem is, like, I'm going through the game, I know it's not a Mario game.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You know it's like an Indian guy that's supposed to be in it, and they just didn't think that it would sell in America, so they just threw Mario characters in it.
Yeah.
And the ending, as you would know, is fucking horrible.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So like I would give it a 3.
3.
You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, 3. You know, like Mario 1 would be a 4, and then Mario 3 would be a 5 to me. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
No, that's
So I
fair.
think
I think
I
that's
think that would
fair.
be a fair assumption. What would you rate Sonic 3?
Well, Sonic, huh?
You said 1, right?
I gave it a 1.
Yeah, you gave it a 1.
Ain't gonna pass that. Lucky you got a 1.
Lucky you got a 1.
Yeah, lucky you got a 1. So, we usually go into one of a system that kind of try to bring back memories and everything like that. And actually, this week we kind of been really talking about NES a lot because you had to get your NES fix in that sense. So, I'll talk about the NES.
Yeah, man.
So NES, I've gotten it when I was about 5. It was a Christmas gift for me and my sister. Me and my sister had to share it. We had Mario Duck Hunt, which was the basic games, and then Mario 3 was one of the games we got with it.
I remember my brother's father having it.
Okay.
And it was like his. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it was like if I was good, I could play it kind of thing. Originally, it was in the living room, and then it was in my room for a little bit, and then I got in trouble, and then he took it and put it in his room. So it was like never really was mine, but I remember it from like '89. You know what I mean? I'm like 4 years old at this time.
Yeah.
So like for video game wise, it's the first real memory of what a game is.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt is literally to me like it is the starting point. It's the start line of the race. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then as time went by, there's been just those games that like we have such nostalgic badass games that came out of NES.
Yeah. I could.
If you were to give me like 5 of your like top NES games, what would they be?
Mario 3. Mario 3 would be Castlevania. Damn, 5. I can't even just do 5. I have like 10 games that I know for a fact.
Just freestyle. Ball
Turtles
out
2.
A whole bunch.
Turtles 2, the arcade game. I'll put Damn, what was the other game?
See, I know you being, you as a person in life and stuff like
Duck
that.
Hunt.
What?
Not Duck Hunt. DuckTales. DuckTales.
Now, you being the person that you are, like I know you're hardcore into like Ninja Turtles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, did you get like satisfaction out of playing like the arcade game and like the Manhattan game and stuff like that? Were those you're like, holy shit, let me play these? Were those like your go-tos growing up?
So
I can never beat a single one of them.
So I was able to finish both of them. The arcade game I liked more than Turtles 3, the Manhattan Projects. I know a lot of fans like Manhattan Projects more than the other two, but my big thing with the Manhattan Projects is the fucking cover. My big thing with the cover is the fact that you see the Triceratops on the cover and they're never in the game.
Yeah.
They're not in the game whatsoever. I don't care. If you played it on hard, you finish on hard, you ain't gonna fight none of them. They're not in the fucking game. And it's false advertisement, and I fucking hated that game because of that.
I hate false advertisement.
Yeah.
Fuck them motherfuckers.
But the Turtles 2, the fact that they didn't have the graphics of the arcade, they added 2 more stages into the game. So you had a snow stage and a samurai, like a fucking Japanese stage. That was the difference of the game into the arcade. The arcade was full length and shit at 4 players. You only could play 2 players, and it was limited with the graphics. So basically, they added more stages for you. But I liked the Turtles. I'll say number 5 for me would be Blaze of Steel. That was the only it was like the first hockey game I ever got really into.
I know exactly what you mean. Like the game is awesome, bro.
And I loved it. And you could fight and you could play Gradius while you're fucking on the halftime show, and there was a lot of things in that game that was just fun.
Like, did you own all these games that you're talking about? Is that why? Like, you know how, like, same thing with me in the last cast. The reason why those games were the games that I chose for Sega Genesis is because that was what was in my catalog to play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what was that in your catalog? That's the reason
I
why these
own I
games.
own I own quite a few of them. I'll say the only thing I fucking messed up, I missed, and honestly I had to say this into my list as well, even though it's passing five, is Mike Tyson Punch Out and Mega Man 2.
That's awesome.
Mega
Mega
Man.
Man 3. Mega Man 3 to me
I
was
love
the
Mega Man
shit.
2. Mega Man 2 was the first one I owned, so I have a more of a close connection to Mega Man 2. I liked Mega Man 3. I didn't care for Mega Man 4. I didn't care for 5 or 6, and those all came out on NES. NES, Mega Man 6 was one of the last NES games that actually came out on NES. But yeah, so there was a lot of those games that came out in that sense. Like I was trying to, like, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. Sometimes I have gotten games because friends left them in my house and they had just happened to stay there, and then I
Like,
had
I'm gonna
games.
give them back. I'm gonna give them back.
No, it's not even like me borrowing them. They fucking brought the game in and they just left in my house, and then I moved and then I never seen them again. But I also got a lot of games from my mom hook us up, especially if they're like on sale and things like that. I had like this one NES game that it rings a bell that I played with my sister a lot and my mom. My mom actually played. Was called Anticipation, and it was like a Pictionary.
Okay.
The computer would draw a picture, and you had to guess what it is. You go, it was like a board game. You all pick a like a character. It was up to 4 players. So, like player one was the direction button on one controller. Player two was a B and A. Player three was the other controller direction. The player four was the B and A. So that's how you would be able to play 4 players. If you had the multi connection, you could play as 4 players as well. But it was like a game. You roll, and then you go to you roll, and it's like a game board, and the different colors means different categories. So say for instance you landed on blue. Blue will be like animal, and it would draw like an animal, and you had to guess what the animal is. Like it would be like purple would be a thing. It would draw like a hammer, and that's a thing. You had to write down hammer, things like that, and that's how the game played. And you
Sounds
go to
kind of
different
boring
levels.
to me.
But like if you're playing with people, it's Pictionary. So if you ever play Pictionary with a bunch of people and stuff like that, y'all like going crazy and trying to guess the things. Then it makes it more fun. So you're playing with people, it's more fun.
If you're playing by yourself in your room, you're like, it just seems like tedious.
No,
You know what I mean?
yeah, it's more of it's more of a party game than anything. But that's something I remember playing. That's something that kind of stood out to what I was thinking of. Um, but yeah, like I used to rent a lot. I used to, if I didn't rent a lot, there was somehow I got it. I bought it used or I bought it new, depending on what game it was. But usually I rented. I rented a ton of games. Through Blockbuster, to the neighborhood video store. I used to rent all the time.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
So what was your sixth again that you said?
Mike Tyson Punch Out.
Yeah, the sixth one. Okay. All right. So for NES for me, number one hands down is definitely Mario 3.
Yeah.
I still to this day don't think there's a better game. It's still fun. It's still one of those things that you can pop on right now, bring you back to a kid, and also as an adult, really try your patience as well. Because once you get to the 6th level, it's like downhill.
Yeah.
From there, you know what I mean? Like, I just have so much fond memories of playing that game.
Yeah.
Next, definitely would be Mike Tyson's Punch Out. It would definitely be my number 2 because that I used to go to my grandma Helen's house, which she wasn't my grandmother. She was just an older woman that my mother was really close with,
Yeah.
and she literally like grandmothered me. So like I would sleep over her house or on weekends or during the week if my mom had like things to do, and she had like an extra room that just had toys and like a bounce house horse and an old boob tube television with the antenna coming out the back.
Yeah.
And one of the 3 games that she had was Mike Tyson's Punch Out. I've never beat the game.
Yeah.
It's extremely hard to beat. Any professional still to this day says that it's a very hard game to beat, and I've talked to numerous people about that. The game after that, number 3 would be either 2 or 3 of Mega Man. Both of them are awesome. Definitely not number 1, because number 1 is nothing compared to number 2 and 3. They're completely different formats, completely different games. You know what I mean? I would say probably more of 3. I had more fun with. 4, believe it or not, Excitebike was my shit.
Excitebike was a great game.
I enjoy just making the most craziest courses ever. You know what I mean? And just ripping ass and just wiping out and everything like that. Just trying to make the most intricate thing. I mean, it's sort of a toss-up between that and Paperboy. Like, I played a lot of Paperboy growing up, so like I want to put them in the same category together.
Yeah.
They're sort of just the same thing. It's just, you know, the same thing over and over and over and over again. You know what I mean? What was that? 3 or 4?
Yeah, 3.
3. No, that was 4.
That was 4.
That was
okay.
4. Renegade, number 5. Number 5, hands down. Renegade actually would probably be over Excitebike. I think actually number 3 would be Renegade, because Renegade, I just love that game. That game is so badass. I just bought it and I just want to play it so bad. Just hopping on the trains, whooping motherfuckers with nunchucks. It's sort of like Warriors, you know what I mean? And then if I just had to throw like an extra one in there, believe it or not, would be the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Karate Kid, that game is fun, but it's so hard. And I used to beat the shit out of myself all the time because I could never catch the fly. I can never catch the motherfucking fly, bro. And I'm sitting there and I try. Even trying to break the stones, I couldn't do that. This isn't Mortal Kombat. You know what I mean? You know how no Mortal Kombat, you gotta crack the stones in half?
Yeah.
You have that
Test
in...
your might.
Exactly. You have that in Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Karate Kid is just basically standard, just fight game. You know, just go through it side by side, reel and shit. But because of those two things, I tried more. I had more tiring hours trying to catch that fucking fly than anything else in the world. And I've never beat the game either.
Yeah.
I own it, but I've never beat it. But that's the reason why it would be number 6 in my book, because of the amount of hours that I put into it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it wasn't even mine. I didn't even have these games. It was my cousin Richie.
Yeah.
My cousin Richie had this. He had Rad Racer. He had Ninja Turtles with everybody had the red.
The first one.
Yeah, the original, the first one, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He had that. He had fucking he had a whole bunch of stuff, man. He had the Mac. You remember the Big Mac Brothers or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
MC Mac Boys or some shit. Like, he had that. That game is so rare these days. You can't even find that. He had that game. He had so much stuff. That's where I really played, like, my NES time. You know what I mean? He lived right down the road from me.
Cool.
But that would probably be mine. It's very abstract. It's not what you would normally think. I in the beginning, yeah, my Mario 3, Mike Tyson. But like Excitebike, Excitebike is fun because it makes you think.
Excitebike is fun. It is a fun
and Paperboy is fun too, because as the levels go, it goes faster.
Yeah.
Faster, and you're fucking breaking windows and getting hit by cars and shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that was my NES stuff. You said Blades of Steel. Was there any other like sports games that you were like into?
I like Double Dribble.
Okay.
I think everything that Konami did, because at the time Konami was doing those games, pretty much everything they did. Like, I like the Blaze of Steel. I like the Blaze of Steel 2. Maybe Bases Loaded Baseball.
I liked Cal Ripken baseball and Bo Jackson's baseball.
Yeah.
That was my shit.
Was that on NES or was that on something?
Yeah, no,
else?
that was all NES. Yeah.
I remember
because Cal Ripken was famous back in like 92, 93.
Yeah, I remember Bases Loaded, and they had like multiple parts of that. I played those games. But Double Dribble, I remember that. Um,
It was like the Blazers versus the Pistons or
yeah,
something like that.
that was
I,
Genesis.
that was Genesis.
Yeah. Genesis Super Nintendo. And then I remember getting really into what was it? Tecmo Bowl.
Yeah, Tecmo Bowl. Yeah, man, I've only played that game like 2 or 3 times in my life.
Yeah, that was a fun football game. So Tecmo Bowl, yeah.
I mean, Madden. The first Madden was on NES. The original Madden.
Madden, no. Madden
I'm pretty
first
sure
appeared.
it was.
No, Madden first appeared on SNES and Genesis.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there is a game that has his name in it. It might not be the Madden that we know, from the 90s. Because the Madden that I know is Sega Genesis all day. You know what I mean? And just same thing with hockey.
The
like,
first
any hockey
Madden game was on
NHL.
Sega. First John Madden game was on Sega.
Or no, Joe Montana. It was a Joe Montana game.
That was on Sega.
You should know. I'm pretty sure it was NES.
I'll guarantee you it was not.
My friend
NES.
Ernie Ostrom had it. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. First Madden game was Sega Genesis.
Yeah, but I said Joe Montana, NES.
Joe Montana was Genesis.
It doesn't even say. It goes right to his Super Bowls. I don't give a fuck about his Super Bowls. Neither here or there. One thing I love about the NES is that it's virtually indestructible. You know what I mean? Every part you can get refurbished right now. And like say you had one sitting in the attic that was all messed up. You can literally go out and buy the piece right now and make it fully functional. Like these will stand the test of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Good times with the NES.
Yes, it was a good system. It had a lot of shitty games too. Like as many good games it had as much shitty games as it did. Because again, you got.
I'm pretty sure I own a lot of shitty games.
You got to realize that there were so many during this time, especially when Nintendo had its boom. Everyone wanted to make a NES game because it was simple. You had Lethal Weapon had a fucking game. It was terrible. You had Total Recall having a game. You had fucking Lethal Weapon 3 having a game. You had every fucking crappy movie that came out in the 90s maybe had a game on NES.
I think what would be the worst game you played on it? If you had to think, Snowball. I'm trying to get my gears turning right now to think what would probably be the worst. You want to know a game that I actually is very simple, but it's the hardest game ever, and I used to kill it as a kid, but now I tried playing it not too long ago on my friend's Switch.
Yeah.
Fucking Bubble Bobble.
Bubble Bobble was a hard game.
Bubble Bobble, I beat Bubble Bobble when I was 5 years old. When I'm 34 now. When I was 33, I couldn't get past the second fucking board.
Yeah, I like that game. I played it recently because it was on the Switch.
You know what I mean? As technology goes on and on and on, we get programmed to easier functions and easier buttons and stuff like that. Where you go back to the primitive stuff, the original stuff, that actually is a lot harder to play.
Yeah.
Than it is now.
Yeah, because back in the day, even with games going back in the day, it was all about the patterns, and that's how you go about, and you learn the patterns of the game, you learn how the game flows, and that's how you learn how to play it. Look at Mario. And Mario is the best example because you had to learn the patterns of the stages. You kind of knew where everything is at. You kind of knew where the secrets is at and things
First
like that.
First off, those flying fucking fish, I don't care. They got an AI, and they those flying fish fucked you up, bro.
Yeah.
They fucked everybody up. And you know it. You can't even lie.
And
you just gotta run. You gotta run through that level. You don't stop. You just keep going.
And to answer your question, Joe Montana football was exclusively to Sega Genesis.
Thank you.
The only football games that were on NES, I think it was Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Bowl, Super Tecmo Bowl, and I think that's all I remembered. I think Mutant League had a game, and that's probably it. When Sega Genesis came out, that was one of the key things they had. That was they had Joe Montana football, and then they had the first John Madden football, and
I
that was
mean,
crazy.
they had a whole bunch of football games. I forget them, but
Well, Sega Genesis had quite a few, but NES didn't have as much.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to dive back
Yeah.
down. I can't wait because I just got my NES fix. So
Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of games, man. I've never beat Zelda in my life.
Yeah,
Have you ever beat
Zelda's a
Zelda
good game.
before?
Yes, I have.
I've never done it. I got 1 and 2.
2 I didn't care for. I did finish that one as well, but I didn't care for that one that much.
See, like, I know I would be good at Zelda because it's literally the same format as the Pokemon games for, like, the Game Boy Advance.
Not
It's
not
literally
not
the same,
exact.
It's the
Yeah.
same format, man. It really is.
It
It's the
is
same
and it
thing.
isn't because you're not really attacking anything in the Pokemon games and Zelda you're attacking things.
No, yeah, I get that, but
Yeah.
like the way the layout of the land
Yeah,
is,
it,
you know,
it's
like,
top. It's top over. You're over the top of it and things. Yeah, it has like a helicopter view.
Is there any games from NES that you would hope that they remade and reamped for like nowadays systems?
Friday Nightmare on Elm Street. I would love to see that
Fuck
like a
yes,
remake.
bro! I love you for saying that.
That's one game that I would like to. Honestly, I will take the original one and just put it on a new system
Like a
so I can get it.
like a remastered
So I don't have to pay
version of it.
$90 for this shit.
Bro, that game I used to borrow from my neighbors. They
Yeah.
were 2 doors down. Shouts out to Lori and Teresa. They were twins. That was the one game that I borrowed from them all the time because, like, it was, bro, that game is so hard. You know what I mean? And there's a ninja mode that you have to do a whole bunch of things that I've mastered in the first board.
Yeah.
That even a lot of people today have no clue how to do it. I just mastered it somehow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to knock down every tongue. You have to kill every spider. You have to, you know, it's crazy. I've never been to the end of that game.
Yeah.
And that game goes for like $60 right now. It pisses me off.
It's too much. It's too much for a retro game. Like I think my max on a retro game is $30. Sadly,
Well,
that's true.
It depends on what it is. If it's a sealed Mega Man 1, you know, you get
like
spent right.
I'm very like. See, the thing is, like, again, you have a lot of games that are getting remastered and getting redone and put on a new system. So, like, if someone tries to sell me a Mega Man 1 for $60, I'm like, you know what? Nah, I won't do that. I'll buy that the Legacy collection that's on the Switch. That has Mega Man 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, and 8.
Every single console has
Yeah.
a legacy Mega Man.
Exactly. So I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't need the one cartridge. I'll just buy the fucking disc and have it all on there. I don't care. Like, I love the retro gaming, and I will continue to buy things that were part of my childhood, but I am not going to buy overpriced shit that I could get somewhere else a lot cheaper.
See, I'm very high favorite in Mega Man. Like, I love like the aspect of Mega Man. Would you agree that besides Contra, Mega Man is like the innovator of like a shooter, like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like the beacon of what shooter games
Mega
was back in the day.
I would say Mega Man is the beacon of the side-scrolling shooter.
Yeah.
And
And Contra, like, there's no way you can beat Contra without the 35 live fucking cheat.
I think Mega Man gets it a bit more because Mega Man adds strategy more into it. As in, when you get to the other stages, you have to change your weapons and adjust your character. So, like, say for instance, you're fighting Flashman. If you don't have the weakness of Flashman, you might not beat it directly then, and things like that. So that Mega Man brought this whole thing of strategy and how to beat these characters, and that's something I always loved about Mega Man. Contra is a side scroller shooting, yes, and you get like special weapons and like that. That one's more about patterns, and you have to know how the enemies run and shit like that. After a while,
the game is so hard.
Yeah, it is
The
it's
game
probably
is so
one of the
hard.
hardest fucking games there is. Contra Hardcore, which was even the hard. I think it was the hardest Contra I ever fucking played. Like, you have to know the mechanisms and you have to know the measurements and everything of that fucking game to like play it fucking perfect. Like, there's so much fucking things that goes into that game. Mega Man is about the same thing because also Mega Man deals with like crazy jumps, especially when you get to the Wally, the last boss and shit, like the Dr. Wily stages and shit. They'll have like these fucking big ass jumps that you have to do and things like that. Other than that, like that game brought into strategy. You had to have strategy. Like, there's weaknesses for every villain and everything like that. There's a pattern of how you should. There's a way of how you should start your game, and that's something about Mega Man that like you learn, like especially if you played 1 and 2, you learn little by little that there is a pattern of how you had to go through this game.
See, like, I always felt that Mega Man was, like, the start of it. Like, popular-wise. I know there was games before it, but, like, that was, like, the first mainstream, to me, that was, like said, side shooter, because that's what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely put that up on, like, the top tier list.
Oh, it's a legendary game. Like, Mega Man is one of my favorite games of all time. Like, I put up there. It's in my Mount Rushmore games because I played every single one of them. I finished every single one of them. I love those games, but they are hard. They are not easy. They take time. They take time to learn, and they take time to really understand the weapons you have in your disposal and stuff like that. So that's something with Mega Man that I always gave respect to.
Now, there was a reason why I mentioned that.
Okay.
Because I would like to lead now into the segment of the games that revolutionized games.
Okay.
And Mega Man was my choice for this cast of a revolutionary game that sort of paved the way for things. I sort of egged you on into it. You feel me?
Yeah.
So like that is definitely my choice because and with every sequel to it, you know what I mean? Even up to X.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you know what you're getting with a Mega Man game. And now I'm not saying Mega Man 1 is the game that did it. I'm saying the Mega Man 2 and 3 are the games that did it. You know what I mean? 'Cause Mega Man 1, honestly, to me, sucks. I don't like it.
Mega Man 1 is not that great of a game. Like, it's
a completely different game compared to everything else that we know.
I think what happened. Let me pour my beer first. So, what happened with Mega Man 2 and why Mega Man 2 is completely different than Mega Man 1? So, Mega Man 1 was done on rush because they wanted it for the opening of the NES. So, when the Super Famicom came out in Japan, they wanted it with the release. So this is why it was kind of rushed and stuff like that. So you didn't have as many powers. You just had the robot powers that you beat. You had your basic shit. Mega Man 2, but it did get a lot of it got a lot of shit for the cover. The cover art was terrible. 2, it got a lot of shit for it being too hard for no reason. And when you do shit like that, like a lot of fans didn't get into it. I think Mega Man 2, honestly, Mega Man 2 is one of the top selling Mega Mans of all time.
I was looking that up. It's 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Because with
So 2, I know for a fact one thing with 2 is that I know everybody has owned at least 2 once.
Well, I've never owned it. I've only
it?
played it. But I've never owned anything growing up. I was poor as shit.
Okay.
I played that game at my friend Ernie Ostrom's house. I used to play that shit all the time. My mother had to work, so after school I would go to his house.
Yeah.
His mother Carol would watch me, and it would be me and him playing that, listening to Guns N' Roses, because he was so obsessed with Guns N' Roses. That's neither here or there. I'm just giving you the mind state and mind frame of that time. You know what I mean? So all we did was listen to Guns N' Roses and play It was either Bo Jackson's Baseball or Mega Man 2 and 3,
Yeah.
because he had those games. But like I feel that everybody on this planet, if you are into any type of video game, whether it's nowadays or like our past previous genres, everybody should tune in and try at least once
Yeah.
the Mega Mans. You know what I mean? Like Mega Man 2 and 3. I will always add 3 into it because 3 just amped up 2 more. You know what I mean? To me.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like that was one of the revolutionary games. You know what I mean? The games that set tones for future gaming. You know what I mean? What would be yours for this segment?
Mine's will be. So I didn't even actually think about this week.
It could be anything.
No, I'm going to give you one.
We don't have to fixate on the NES.
Well, I'm going to go directly to something with NES. I kind of just going to go with the theme of NES, and I'm going to go with Zelda.
See, Zelda, man, I am so upset over the fact that I've never beat that game.
So, the thing with Zelda is it has it grew a fan base off of the NES, and NES is where it started. But Zelda had a continuously good games throughout every system it has landed on, except for the 3DO. We don't talk about the 3DO one. 3DO one sucks, and you don't want to play that one, so don't even look at that one. But everything else on the Nintendo system was great. Nice.
Yes. Shouts out to my beer of choice. If you guys ever tuned in, I mean, if this is your first time tuning in, Red Cyclone Inc., what we have done in the past is, Morphin Cast, Not a Trekkie, all the other things. But our thing is, we drink beers while we do it. And my beer of choice for this cast, I have to throw it out there, is the Stone Cold Steve Austin Broken Skull IPA.
Yeah, man.
Very flavorful. Please go and pick this up because I want more venues to pick this up, so it's not as hard for me to find.
Yeah.
All right.
So back to
your Zelda.
Yeah, back to Zelda. Like, Zelda is a generational game. Like, you could find a good Zelda game on any NES console, any Nintendo console. You will have a good Zelda game. No matter what, you will get a good Zelda game.
I have it for 64, but I've never played it.
I honestly, my personal favorite is Ocarina of Time. That was the one on N64. One of the first ones on N64. Majora's Mask is amazing. Yeah,
that's the one that I have.
It's an amazing game. They brought action RPG to a Americanized level, as in our action RPG is that when you actually do the action and not like a turn-based kind of action. Because most Japanese RPGs are turn-based. This is the first one that wasn't turn-based. So Zelda was unique, and I think Zelda is one of those games that it is iconic for its time. The character is iconic as shit. Link is iconic as shit because that's not Zelda. Zelda's the princess. It had its own cartoon. It wasn't a good cartoon, but it had its own cartoon. But yeah, Zelda. I'll say Zelda. Zelda is. I did the two obvious ones.
Is the game now? The thing is, like, I get the feel and of Zelda and stuff like that, right? Like, I've never beat it. I've played a decent amount of it.
Yeah.
Is it really one of those games that I feel like after a while it gets very tedious and very boring. You know what I mean? I get the nostalgic purposes of it, and I get the worldly contribution to video games as time went by, because Zelda is still talked about today. You know what I mean? Zelda has a game on the Switch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I get it. Like, I've never beat the game. Is the ending worth it after all of that tedious running around? Is the ending of it worth it? Like, I went through Mario 2.
Yeah.
That was my challenge of last week. Would I say it was fulfilling? Yes, because I never played it.
Yeah.
But the ending was traumatically bad. You know what I mean? Like, the hours that you put into it, is it worth it.
That was the thing I didn't want to tell you about the fucking ending when I knew the ending what it was. It was Mario fucking sleeping.
It would have never mattered to me. The simple fact that I've tried
Yeah.
on multiple um consoles. We're talking Game Boy. We're talking Nintendo, Super Nintendo. We're talking fucking any type of console that was able to play Mario 2. I tried.
Yeah.
And never had enough time to finish it.
Yeah.
So to me, that was a life goal that you helped me fulfill.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Now Zelda, say hypothetically, like I have Zelda 1 and 2, and that is one of my goals in the future to play Zelda. Right.
The first Zelda
doesn't. Is the going to be worth it?
Yeah. So
is
the
it
first
going to be like fulfilling.
So the first and second Zelda, the endings are not going to be fulfilling because 1 is not a video ending, 2 is just word text, and it
doesn't have to be video ending.
But it's not worth the adventure you have to go to.
The bullshit that you got to go through.
No, it's not worth it. Ocarina of Time has a full length ending, and it's fucking amazing. Link to the Past has a fucking great ending. Majora's Mask has a great ending. I think our next cast we should fixate on the N64. I think that this cast really just showed the route for the next one. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think N64 will be the next one that we talk about. Yeah, it would be interesting.
Because I could talk about that shit for days.
But yeah, it depends on the Zelda game you played. Most of the Zelda games later on, they actually have a full life ending and actually is worth it. But the older ones, again, the limitations and what they had, they just have a lot of text and just tells you the ending of the story. It's an interesting ending, but it's not like I just finished this whole game for like 20 hours and motherfucker, you just gonna give me words? You don't feel that way.
Well, but that's what you got out of NES games.
Like, at least, like, some games...
Name an NES game that you had an epic ending to. I'm sorry.
Like, you have, like, you never got, like, a video ending, but you got, like cutscenes, and you actually got the feel that you finished the game. Like, Ninja Gaiden, they gave you a fucking nice cutscene, and they gave you different pictures, and they gave you a fucking, like, story of what he did afterwards, and it was actually really good. But with Zelda, they give you a story, but it still doesn't give you, like... So, they give you the story of everything that happens in the end, but then it doesn't lead you anywhere. And then you're just, like, confused towards, like, you're like, okay, so what's next? Then they make Link 2, which Link 2 has nothing to do with the first game. Link 2 is his, like, own little story. So, you like... So, I did that, and it had nothing to do with this. So, what the fuck point is this? Kind of thing.
Like, why did I do this?
Yeah. So, that was the thing. Other than that, when you get to the older ones, like the N64 ones, when you get to like Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, or like even the last one, Breath of the Wild, you get a full epic fucking video and movie ending and shit like that, and they're fucking amazing. Twilight Princess was another one that was amazing. Even the Game Boy ones were fucking great, but the original ones, the endings weren't worth the time you're gonna play as.
Alright. So that is our game changing. Last episode was what? I did
You did wrestling.
I did the first THQ.
You did the Aki game, the first Aki game.
Yes. And what was yours? Yours was
Mine was Mario, yeah.
I find this very important for everybody to tune into these portions because this is what made gaming today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You might not enjoy what was happening in the past. You might not be a retro video gamer like you and I both are.
Yeah.
But these are the games you have to take your hat off to and nod because they are the ones who paved the way.
Yep.
If it wasn't for these games that we mentioned through these casts, today would not be today. You wouldn't have your fucking Fortnite, alright? You little shits. You guys would not have that, alright?
Yeah.
So, I'm not telling you to go out to play it, even though I am telling you to go out to play it. But
you should play it.
Give a nod and respect to the games that innovated the rest of it.
You should play it.
I plan on it. I definitely do. It's just, that's a game that takes time and
Yeah.
patience for it. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
I got other games going on right now that I need to play.
Okay. So, all right. So we're gonna about to wrap this up, but before we end it, we're gonna give our challenge to each other. What games that we're gonna challenge each other for this month, before we do the next cast.
All right. Well, I gave yours first last time, so you hit me with it.
So I'm gonna give you a choice.
We're gonna give each other choices. I'd rather a multiple choice
Yeah.
than a single game. You feel me? One to three. You can do one, but 1 to 3 I think would be the right way to go.
So I got 3. So these games could be challenging in a bit because the way they're made, it is made more for arcade than it actually made for a system. So it is what it is. So my first one will be Sunset Riders.
Okay.
I told you about this
I remember
game.
you mentioning this to me.
It's a side scroller. It's a cowboy game. It's like a shoot 'em side scroller. Kind of is made in the likes of like Turtles in that sense of how the arcade style is. That's one of them. That's for Super NES. Number 2 will be Super Mario Lost Levels.
For what is that?
It's on
Oh
the
no, that's an NES game. Yes.
No, it's on the Mario All Stars cartridge that you have.
No, it's not. No, it's
Yeah,
not.
it is.
Oh yeah, it is. Holy shit! I've never played it.
Yeah.
Actually.
Exactly. So that's that one.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty clever.
And then my third one will be Spider-Man and the X-Men for either
Spider-Man
console.
and for what system is that on?
It'd be Sega Genesis or Super Nintendo, either one.
I will do Spider-Man and the X-Men just because I've been egging myself on to try actually do a game like that.
You have it?
I don't have it, but Game On does have it, and I will make sure that I go and pick it up. And he's fixing my Sega right now as we speak, so it would be the perfect game to break in my new fixed
I just hope you
Sega
don't.
Genesis.
I just hope you don't break your system for this game.
You know, from what I'm told, these systems from back in the day are virtually indestructible, but I'm about to probably test that theory right there.
Mm-hmm.
So, now, my 2 for you, believe it or not, when we were mentioning our top NES games, one of the games that you've mentioned was one of the games that I presented for you for your challenge, which is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!
Oh, I can finish that. I'm fine with that.
I feel like that is a game that you will have fun in and laugh the whole way through. You feel me?
I can finish that game. Like I've beaten it many times.
I didn't know you've ever, until this cast right now. I never know that you actually beat that.
Oh, I finished the game. I know the patterns and all, dude.
but in my head, that was one game that I wanted you to play. The other one is Battletoads for NES.
So, funny thing, in between both these games, I have finished both these games. Battletoads, it is a hard game, but once you get the patterns of the shit, you usually will get it. I did finish it recently on the Xbox has a thing called Rare Replay, and it has all the rare games. Just so you
know, I have a hidden third one.
Yeah, a hidden third one? Okay.
Just for times like this.
Okay.
But continue. Keep talking about
but,
it.
But Battletoads was one of the games on there. I beat it with my buddy when I was a kid, and I beat it when I was older.
The bonus game that I wanted to throw at you was just Paperboy. You know what I mean? Just a nostalgic old little fun game that can really press your buttons. You know what I mean? Because that is a game that can really bring some emotions out of you for the most simplest.
Do you own Paperboy that I could get access to it?
I do. I think I do. I'm pretty sure I do. But if I don't, I'll pick it up tomorrow.
So, I have beaten Mike Tyson Punch-Out! I have beaten it on my Switch recently. So I'm gonna take a game that I have not finished and shit like that. So I'll take Paperboy because I've beaten the shit out of Mike Tyson Punch-Out! I know the fucking pattern of Mike Tyson, and that shit is glued to my head. So I could finish a game in one sitting.
See, but now that is something that I didn't know because I was trying to find a game that is, because out of many reviews on the hardest
Yeah.
NES games made, Battletoads and Mike Tyson's Punch Out is top of the list
Yeah.
of fun but hard ass games to beat. You know what I mean?
Battletoads, I fucking broke night fucking playing that shit, and we finally finished.
But all right, so you want to do Paperboy?
I'll do
Okay,
Paperboy.
Paperboy's
I'll
cool.
do Paperboy because I have finished Battletoads. I have finished Mike Tyson Punch Out, and I actually did Mike Tyson Punch Out not so long ago.
Okay.
Well, not
I've,
Mike
I,
Tyson.
I've,
Well,
ne- I've never beat either of those games. So.
yeah. So
What's the challenge now? You got Paperboy, and what do I got?
you got Spider-Man and the X-Men.
Yes, I gotta go get that. I gotta pick it up tomorrow, from 1 to 4 o'clock.
I think Paperboy, the original Paperboy, is on one of these Xbox things. So I'm gonna check.
I tried to find things that would have been on the Switch for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it'd probably be on one of those two things. If it's not there, then I might have to get the cartridge. But yeah. So Paperboy and Spider-Man and the X-Men.
I'm interested to see if I fucking actually make it through the game, because these games are so hard. I know those games are so hard,
Oh, Spider-Man and X-Men is fucking tough as shit.
but I'm gonna try my best.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. So we're gonna wrap this up. This is another The Game Rage podcast. I am Mark with the Mike. He is Tenacious T. Shout outs to always to Game On. This is where
Yes.
we are getting most of our retro games from that we're going to be doing on this cast.
Listen, Game On is a retro video game store based down on Long Island. Two different locations, Miller Place and Smithtown. For all your retro video game needs, everything from I would accent more of PlayStation 2 and down, even though they have everything in up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very homebody place, very at home place, very make you at home place. You know what I mean? So check them out. Go to GameOnMP.com,
All right.
and you get their whole bio and everything. You can't buy anything off that list, but if you really wanted to know the essence of what kids that were, people that were us when we were kids that grew up to make a retro video game store, you'll understand the passion behind it. So check them out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And shout outs to Red Cyclone Inc. and Mike for editing and everything like that. I always give shout outs to them as well. Shout outs to Tilla Max. He's always a avid listener to our show. And so all you guys listening at all, try the games that we're being challenged on, Paperboy and Spider-Man and the X-Men. I challenge any of y'all to finish Spider-Man and the X-Men, to be honest with you. I had to find a hard
I
one.
might not make it. If
Yeah.
I don't make it, but that's the glorious thing about it, is the try and the fight for it. I don't have to get through it,
It's
but
the
I gotta
experience.
try my ass off to get through it. You feel me?
It's for the experience.
If I fail the challenge, then I fail the challenge.
Yeah.
Everybody loses the game of two.
Exactly. But yeah, you could try them yourself if you have Paperboy or Spider-Man and the X-Men. If not, go to Game On and buy them. Curbside service. You had nothing else
Yes.
to do. You're out.
Curbside service.
So we're gonna wrap this up. This is another Game Rage podcast, episode 2. Episode 3 will come next month, and we'll have a new challenge and everything like that. Please like and subscribe. Please follow all our other podcasts. We have the Not a Trekkie podcast. We have the Oz Shell Shock. We have the Morphin Cast. We have It Gets Better, I Swear. And we have the Wrestling Babble. Wrestling Babble, It Gets Better, I Swear is a weekly podcast. Not a Trekkie, the Morphin Cast, and Not Shell Shock, our monthly podcast. You can find them anywhere where we have our podcasts at. Follow us on social media: Instagram, Tumblr, Twitch TV, Twitter, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All Mark with the Mic. Follow Red Cyclone Inc. on all the same things. Follow Tenacious T. Just follow him. Follow him in Grand Central. Just follow
Listen,
him.
just look for me. I'm
Just
there.
just creep on him. He
Tap
likes
me
it.
on my shoulder, get punched in the mouth, and say you like my podcast, and I'll say I'm sorry.
he likes the creep, so just creep on him. He likes
Hey,
it.
listen, man, I've been a creep for a very long time, and it's about time I get some creepy fans.
Yeah, so, all right. So, we got our duties to play these games when we have the chance. I got Paperboy. You got Spider-Man and the X-Men. We will be back next time for episode 3, and we will tell you our stories with these damn games, and
whether or not I make it or not.
and we will talk about more retro stuff. So peace out, laters, and
Fuck Zordon.
yeah, fuck Zordon, because
That's just a tie-in for every
I feel
podcast that we do.
generally throughout all of these podcasts that we do, Zordon is an asshole. So fuck.